Hey everyone, I hope you're having an amazing day. This is FC with CappersDirect.com here to talk to you guys about something special today. We are going to break down this humongous event, Ryzen versus Bellator, where we're going to break down the initial fights, the main card where Bellator fighters are actually fighting Ryzen fighters. And I have to tell you guys, it's going to be a little different. Ryzen does things a little differently. Okay, this is an Asian organization, but we're talking about Bellator's best versus Ryzen's best. Now, Bellator has done this before. Bellator has done an event with Ryzen, but it was a lot smaller, and both organizations weren't necessarily developed like they are now. So we have pretty decent, I would have to say really good fighters on the Bellator side. And then we have Ryzen's best competition that they could put together for those Bellator guys. Now, are some of these fights going to be close? Yes, it's going to be over in Ryzen. The rules are going to be different, guys. And I think that's the reason why I'm providing it on this platform, right? For everybody to understand a little bit about what goes into these fight cards. And so looking at this through the Ryzen telescope or through the Ryzen perspective, Ryzen doesn't have a cage. Ryzen has ropes, and these ropes aren't really ropes per se. They're like cables, and they're rubber. They're very, very hard. They're not giving like a cage, forgiving like a cage. A cage will do that bow, will bow in and things like that. This is not like that. This is a cage that we're talking about the ropes tight. You have people on the outside pushing you back in. You can fall through the ropes, and people will literally push you back in. So in addition to those, don't do that hand motion. In addition to those rubber, you know what I'm saying, those rubber cables, those those hard rubber cables, we're looking at a bigger cage, and we're looking at a square, like a boxing ring pretty much. So these fighters aren't necessarily used to it, but they're also different rule sets. You can now, there are different things with knees and elbows, and the biggest addition is soccer kicks. You can now kick someone with a soccer kick while they're down. That's humongous. We have one fighter who's like all about it on the Bellator side because that's something he's not used to doing, and he can't wait to get a soccer kick off. So needless to say, different rule set, and it's also these judges, you don't necessarily know how they're going to go. You're looking at I hate to say, like a C organization going up against a B organization. It's exciting and it's special because we're getting really good fighters against another organization's really good fighters. That's not something we see ever. We see these rosters these matchmakers and these presidents of these companies, they sort of huddle around their roster and don't really allow their fighters to fight other fighters unless they can bring their fighter into their organization. So this is extraordinarily special in that regard, but I do expect this, and you can sort of see the lines. You sort of expect Bellator fighters to come about and win this thing or sort of dominate. I'll tell you the ways and the fighters that I think have a chance, and I'll also tell you what I think is going to happen within these first 5 fights in the main event. So let's get into it. Let's just start off right off the bat. Let's get into your main event. Well, before we get into it, let me just quickly let you guys know this is going to be an 8 p.m. Eastern taped event that's happening on Saturday. So it's Saturday the 31st. It's going to be taped. The tape is going to show at 8 p.m., but you're going to want to have your bets in by Saturday morning. We're talking about like by 4 a.m. on Saturday, you're going to want to have your bets in. So I'm telling people put their bets in on Friday night. Just put them in. Once everything comes out, after weigh-ins, go ahead and put your bets in and just wake up. And if you want to watch the fights, you can watch the decent Ryzen card, which is, there's a lot of heavy favorites on there. And then you can watch this card as well, or you can just see your money hit the account, and then at 8 o'clock when this tape goes on Showtime, you guys can tune in and see exactly how we made our money. So, all right, guys, let's get into it. We're going to just jump into it right away. Have all these notes all over the place. Don't even care. Look, done with this one. Done with that guy. All right, so we're going to go into... Someone's got to clean that up. It's not going to be me. So let's get into it right away. So in your main event, we have Roberto de Souza versus AJ McKee. This is going to be a good fight, y'all. Let's just be controversial off the bat. I think AJ McKee can lose this fight. I know AJ McKee is this darling of Bellator. You guys, we bet on AJ McKee. I know AJ McKee personally. AJ McKee is learning how to fight at this weight class, right? He's coming in at 155 pounds. He did a test weight before, did really well, and then he had a fight at 155 pounds with an opponent that was kind of short notice, and he did really well. There were a couple spots in there where you could sort of see that he was out muscled, and it was concerning, but I expect him to grow into this body. He's a great fighter. He is really good with his stand-up game, and he's very unorthodox. His father is a former MMA fighter and a really great guy, but was more known for his wrestling style. A lot of people looked at his father and was like, this guy is boring as hell. But he won fights, and he sort of brought that style to AJ. He in the gym, I mean, they train that stuff, but the things that AJ can do athletically, McKee, his father, couldn't really do. So he's able to put some of these creative strikes together, and we're able to see that when AJ does go out there and strike. AJ should strike in this matchup. If AJ strikes in this matchup, he probably gets a finish. He probably gets a KO, TKO. But there's something about AJ, man. He is a cocky dude. He won this $1 million, and he went and fought for the title, lost, and decided, you know what, I didn't lose that fight. The judges just didn't give it to me. The judges didn't see properly. The judges weren't really, their eyes weren't open for that fight. I won that fight. That's the way he sees it in his mind. And then he moved up to 155 pounds because he thought, look, forget 145. I'm growing. His body is growing like crazy. I need to get in here at 155 pounds. And then he's talking about fighting the champ right off the bat in this tourney that's coming up in Bellator. And that's sort of his mindset. He's very cocky. So I expect AJ to come out here, and I expect his father to have the proper game plan. We're going to stand up, strike. If this guy is going to try everything to get us to the ground, we're going to try everything to stay up. And so that should be his game plan. That's what his father, I know, has in his mind. AJ, on the other hand, is going to be the kind of guy who's like, who is this guy? All right, this guy's good at jiu-jitsu. I'm better. You want to see? I'll prove it. I'll prove that I'm better. I'll go down to the mat with this guy when no one else will. And that's the problem. That's the issue that we have when you're going up against Satoshi. Now, you're going to hear Roberto de Souza, but everybody there calls him Satoshi. He's a Japan staple. He's the Rizin champion. This guy is 14-1. Out of those 14 fights that he's won, he has 14 finishes. Sometimes he gets ground and pound finishes, but a lot of times he gets submission finishes. And it really, the ground and pound finishes show you the kind of control that he has on top of people. He can get people to the mat. He has some of the craziest transitions, and then he has great Brazilian jiu-jitsu when he gets down there. Very sneaky stuff. Can grab up a neck, can make a fight grueling. The fight that he lost, I believe he ended up getting hit, and it just threw him off. It threw off his equilibrium. The fights that he's close in, he does get tagged, and then you see a little bit of an issue, but at the end of the day, this guy is a winner. He drags people down. He has a Brazilian jiu-jitsu specialty. He's a grappling wizard. Not the best wrestling, but he can get you down. And then AJ is one of these guys that may end up looking for the takedown just to test his skills. He's a guy who's like, I'm better than you, and your own discipline. You go ahead, you go against the best of the best in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I don't care. I'm better. And that's the mindset that I have problems with. And that's the reason why I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm actually going to take Roberto de Souza, Satoshi, to actually win this. And you have to understand, I think he can lock up a submission. I think AJ can mess around and get caught. I think AJ, if he doesn't come out here and strikes and he goes to the mat, he's going to find himself in a world of hurt. I see him getting a little bit tired towards the end. He may end up getting a late finish because he does hold power later on in fights. But if this thing drags on, I mean, I either see Souza getting a submission or getting the decision nod in over there where this event's being held. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not trying to say that there's any fixes or anything, because I don't necessarily believe that. But man, when you're out there, and you guys have to understand, the crowd is going nuts for your guy. And every shot that De Souza hits, Satoshi hits, it's gonna be ooh ah. Every little transition, it's gonna be ooh ah. Even if it's not a winning transition for him, the fact that he's scrambling, moving, possibly threatening with chokes and so forth is gonna be an issue. That's gonna be something that even me, who sits right there, either cage side or even far away, when I'm in that arena, it skews it. You're like, oh yeah, that person obviously won. And then you look later and it's like, oh shit, it was a lot closer than I thought. Why did I think that person dominated? Have no idea. Oh wait, it was his hometown. Everybody was going nuts. That makes sense. So I'm actually, if this was a fight card, this would actually be probably one of my favorite dogs on this 5-card set. I'm actually going to have to put in a bet on De Souza, on Satoshi. I think I'm going to put in like a quarter unit bet, very small. Again, these things there's a lot of volatility in MMA. We always talk about it. We could have the best guy. We could have the Bobby Greens of the world where he's rocking the guy, killing him, pop, pop, pop. I mean, you're like, easy. How did I get this guy at this line? He's dominating. And then a left hook comes out of nowhere when Bobby turns right when he should turn left. And then boom, it's over. Dominating a fight. Look at Usman, 5th round, dominating that fight. Lost his championship because he decided, you know what? I'm just going to stand with this guy. This guy's got nothing for me. He hasn't really rocked me yet. And I'm better. I think I can stand. I'm just going to stand up. He could have just gone for the takedown right then and there, but he didn't. He's the kind of guy. AJ McKee is that same kind of guy, and we see it a lot in MMA, the volatility. And so I think this event can bring about that volatility. And what do we do at Cappers Direct? We try to minimize that volatility. We try to bring you the best pick that's going to win, and just sometimes a guy slips on a banana peel and then his knee goes out or something crazy ends up happening. So I do expect some shenanigans to happen here. I do expect some decisions, you to look at some decisions and be like, okay, well, he outstruck him. Why did he lose? Okay, he had more ground control and outstruck him, and he still lost. So the volatility is going to be there. So guys, I'm going to put a small bet on De Souza, on Satoshi. I think it's worth it. I think a lot of people, there is a lot of hype behind AJ, and I love AJ. I think AJ's a great fighter. I think he's got a great ceiling, but man, these events puts some adrenaline in you, and you do have this sort of moxie about you. Not just AJ, but just all the fighters do have this moxie about them that they're going to go in there and they're going to, they're going to someone else's turf and they're going to take over, and their organization's better. And sometimes that allows for these adrenaline dumps and these mistakes to happen. And so I think we're going to see some of that here. But let's get into your next fight. Again, we're just going to go off the top. Off the top, we're already going with a banger, and we're already going with some controversy. But now let's get into your co-main event of the night. So in your co-main event, we have the GOAT of Bellator, Patricio Pitbull versus Kluber Koike. Let's get into it. At 145 pounds, guys, we have the GOAT of MMA coming in here. Well, not the GOAT of MMA, but the GOAT of Bellator. The guy who has dominated this division. AJ McKee came about, kind of took him off, and they had their fight back and forth. At the end of the day, Patricio Pitbull, I consider him the GOAT of Bellator. The guy has done more for that promotion, to promote that promotion, to bring money to that promotion than a lot of fighters. He's going up against a good fighter. He's the champion at Rizin at 145 pounds. Looking further into him, though, Koike, he trains with De Souza, the guy who's in the main event. He's got really great submissions. He has like 31 wins and like 25 plus submissions, like maybe even like 27 submissions out of those 31 wins. But the guy gets hit. He stands upright and gets hit in the face. He knows that he has to be perfect for this fight. If you listen to him, he'll tell you, I have to be perfect. I am fighting the best fighter that I have ever fought. I don't care who I fought in the past. That doesn't matter. This guy is the best. So he's coming in here with the right mindset, but I just don't know, man. I don't think he's got the stand-up skills to pay the bills. I think Patricio Pitbull, he hits harder. He's really great at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He trains all over the place. Brazil, in Arizona, in Scottsdale, Arizona, with the Fight Ready crew. Drills his wrestling, has really great wrestling, has really great power. I love Patricio Pitbull's style. The problem with Patricio, I've always felt, was he was getting older and he was focusing a lot on his schools and the other fighters and promoting that and helping them. And I saw him veer away from that hunger that he had, but he regained it right back when he lost. He saw his brother lose. I got to see the emotions behind Pitbull. He trained harder. He was smarter, and in this fight, I think those things will pay off. He is going to be patient. He's going to sit back in his karate style, and he's going to wait. He's going to hit those leg kicks. He's not going to rush anything in there. But I'm telling you what, when this guy lets loose, he's got power. And again, he does have good Brazilian jiu-jitsu. These guys are very comparable when it comes down to record, but when it comes down to skill, guys, I think Pitbull gets this thing done. I think Pitbull wins inside the distance. If you guys can get Pitbull inside the distance, I would definitely bet it. It's not necessarily a huge bet because if Koike does survive, I do wonder what the judges saw. I hope that they're looking at the way Pitbull's striking, the way he's moving backwards, the way he's engaging in a very smart way, yet he's going to be the one who has more volume. Now, if this thing does hit the ground, I do expect him to try to stay heavy and try to get right back up. He's a smart fighter. He wants to win this fight. He wants to cement his legacy. He's all about making sure that his record doesn't necessarily get tarnished with a bunch of losses here as he does get older. The problems that Pitbull does run into is when he runs into these very athletic fighters. These athletic fighters can outspeed him and can outwork him, and you see a Pitbull that is not necessarily on it. He's trying to time a punch, but he's just missing barely. He's right there, and he's not connecting. That's the kind of Pitbull that struggles with those younger fighters. That's the kind of Pitbull I think we're seeing now. But against a guy like Koike, I see Pitbull just coming out here and putting on a show and winning inside the distance. I like Pitbull. I like Pitbull inside the distance. I do recognize the keys that Koike has, but I just don't think it's enough. I think he comes out there with his head just too high up. I think he's going to get hit. He's not the best wrestler, but again, I mean, a guy that's got something like 27 submissions out of 31 fights, I mean, that is special. That is a guy who has really, really great Brazilian jiu-jitsu, but on the feet, the guy is just not it. He's just not it. So I like Pitbull. I like Pitbull inside the distance. And now let's get into your next fight. All right, so your next fight is coming at you at 125 pounds. We have Kyoji Horiguchi versus Hiromasa Ojikabu. Look, guys, this is a weird one because it's sort of Rizin versus Rizin. Horiguchi is a Rizin guy. I know he's fought at Bellator, and really, this is a trilogy fight. These guys have fought before. Horiguchi has won both times. In their first matchup, Horiguchi dominated. I mean, he pretty much dominated. And in the second fight, it was a lot closer. Ojikabu did a lot better, and he's made it his mission now to beat Horiguchi. He's got it in his head. He saw what Patchy Mitch did, and I think it's important to note Horiguchi does have a win in Rizin recently, and that's why I say he goes back and forth. But before that, he is coming off of having 2 losses in Bellator. He thought he was going to go over there and just come back up and then just dominate, and didn't. He was doing really well, lost by knockout. Doing really well, lost because the guy is just better when it comes down to takedowns. So in this fight, we have the trilogy, and we've seen trilogies before. We just saw one recently with Izzy fighting Pereira, and in that fight, it was a little bit different because we saw Izzy lose a unanimous decision, then lose by knockout, and then what did he do again? He lost by knockout in the final round, like he did before. These trilogies do tend to shape up exactly how the first and second fight took place, but every once in a while, you do have these fighters that come in here and take over, especially later on when they've seen other opponents beat people like Horiguchi. Horiguchi now has been beaten twice in Bellator. The blueprint is out there. The guy is amazing. I mean, I've seen him in the gym. Crazy. Probably one of the best guys in the gym. It's just on fight night, he either got caught after doing a really great job, or, you know, just came against a guy who was bigger and ended up having really tricky takedowns. And so looking at this matchup, Horiguchi, what is his mental state coming in? The guy is not used to losing. He's used to dominating. He's used to winning. He's not used to getting knocked out. He's not used to losing these unanimous decisions, getting taken down over and over again. But he is fighting at home, and so this was going to be a look at the underdog, and I still probably am going to bet the underdog here, because why in a fight that is a trilogy, why is the guy favored so heavily? I know he's beaten him twice, but looking at the trajectory of the trilogy, got dominated in the first fight, close second fight, third fight. I mean, the guy has a chance. The guy, this is the third fight he's seeing, this third time he's seeing him. The guy's coming in maybe a little mentally weak from some losses, and this is his chance. So I do think Ojikabu has a chance to win. He has amazing wrestling. He cuts angles really well. He saw the things Patchy Mix did, and his whole mission in life right now currently is to beat Horiguchi. Horiguchi has beaten him twice. He's not going to let it happen again. He's said, I will die in there. We'll see. He probably won't die in there, but I do think he has a good chance to win this fight. Now, do I think he has as good of a chance as I in the main event, the underdog there? I don't know. I would maybe label this a little bit smaller than that, but I think it's a sneaky play. I think it does go to decision. If I were to put my money in and I saw good plus money, I would probably look at Horiguchi by decision. I think it's important to know that he's fighting. He's back home. He's back comfortable. He's not going across seas to fight. I think that's important for him, but at the same time, what's his mental coming in? I still, though, like the person, the fighter that Horiguchi is, I still see a lot of talent there. I see a lot of potential. I think in this fight, he's got really great takedown defense, and he's going to come out there and he's going to try to cut angles himself, but in a different way. He's going to try to cut angles when it comes down to striking. He has power in his hands, and a lot of people are saying Ojikabu doesn't necessarily have power, but I mean, I'm pretty sure I saw Ojikabu rock Horiguchi in one of those fights. So, I mean, there's that as well. There's the fact that he has been knocked out. Ojikabu might not have knockout power, but does he know how to get to Horiguchi? I don't know. I think this comes down to a dog or pass. If I had big plus money on Horiguchi by decision, the people love them there. He fights comfortably there. He's beaten this guy twice. I can see why he would be something like a plus 275, a plus 300, but not. I mean, right now a minus 300 right now. He's sitting at like minus 500, minus 600. I just don't get it. I don't think it's that the gap is that wide there. So I do think Ojikabu can shock the world here and can finally win this third fight. But I'm not going to be putting a ton of money on it, nor would I advise anyone to. I let you guys in on the psyche behind why I would pick him. The kind of trajectory that he's moving in is for him to win this, and he's very motivated. You can see it in his face, you hear it in his voice. He doesn't want to lose this fight. He doesn't want to lose again to this guy. This is a guy that he wants to beat. And so, man, I give him a chance. I know everyone's on Horiguchi. I mean, look at the line. It's crazy. But I give him a chance. Am I going to put a lot of money on it? No, again, but I think he's got potential. What I wouldn't do is voice crack. I wouldn't parlay Horiguchi thinking like, oh, it's a lock. I think it's going to be a closer fight. At the end of the night, you may wake up and Horiguchi may have won that fight, and you may sit there and be like, FC's an idiot. Horiguchi won, obviously. But when you start breaking it down, I think you're going to see it's going to be a lot closer. I mean, this Ojikabu guy, I mean, he fought on Tough before, wrestler, really good guy. I think he can make this very close and even walk away with like a split decision. Who knows? We're definitely it's gonna be a fun fight to watch. But let's get into your next fight. Now your next fight of the night is coming at you at 135 pounds. We have Sochu Kin versus Juan Archuleta. Let's get into Juan Archuleta first. Juan Archuleta is coming from the Bellator side. He is a pressure fighter. He's one of these TJ Dillashaw type strikers. This Dwayne Ludwig constant mover, and as he gets older in age, I do worry about him, but the guy looks good. The guy has looked good as of late. I thought the age was going to catch up. I thought he was going to have gas issues. No, I mean, he proved that he can do the dang thing and can still do it later on in his older age. Now, his chin isn't necessarily the best. He can get rocked, and I do think that has potential here. The potential for a knockout against him or on him is bigger here with the person he's going up against. Kim is a wild man. The guy comes out. He's another pressure fighter himself. Both these guys are pressure fighters, so it's going to be very fun to watch. But he's a pressure fighter himself, wild, but he's a pressure fighter who moves forward. He keeps his head on that center line and he just goes. And he's got a great chin and he believes in his chin and he thinks he's going to knock you out before you knock him out. So he's going to be the kind of fighter that's going to move forward. He doesn't move his head. He loads a lot of shots, but he has this Muay Thai stand-up style. And I have seen him transform into a good fighter overall. Before, the secret was to go ahead, take this guy down, try to dominate him, outvolume him, and then people saw, I can't outvolume him. The guy has a gas tank. Okay, takedowns. Okay, well, the guy shored up his takedown defense. So overall, he is extraordinarily underrated, and I think that's the reason why we're seeing this line pretty close. But Juan Archuleta, he's a gamer, he's a pro. The guy is excited. He's the one who's excited about the soccer kicks. He's probably going to go out there and implement that. So what does that tell us? Is that Juan Archuleta probably is going to be the one mixing in takedowns. He's going to be the one looking for those soccer kicks. How do you get the soccer kicks? The other person has to be on the ground, and you have to wind up like Beckham. Bend it. Boom. Juan Archuleta is excited about it. I see Kim rushing in, being that pressure fighter. I see Juan cutting angles. Now, if Kim catches him in the first round, it's going to be over because a high kick, Juan does tend to dip his head, and Kim knows that. So a high kick can happen. That's how he got caught in the past when he was winning a fight with his wrestling and with mixing things in like he's supposed to here. So that aspect, him dipping his head, is there. But knockouts, they are more rare in MMA, standing knockouts, than you would think. So looking at this, man, I really like Juan Archuleta to mix things up. I like him to put on a volume early. I expect it to be a war early, and then I expect him to grab. The issue here is the cage. There is none. It's ropes. What is going to happen when Juan Archuleta just goes shoulder first, just spear? Just go ahead and spears this guy, or attempts to. There's potential for you to go through the ropes. There's potential for a lot of things to happen. Those ropes are tricky. And so Juan Archuleta, who is used to working on a cage, who's used to using his head to push you up against the cage and hit on top and grind and just put his shoulder in and have that grindy style, that's not necessarily going to be able to manifest itself here. So I do worry about that aspect. I do worry about Juan Archuleta's chin, but in the end, I saw Juan Archuleta for minus 160. I'm going to put a unit on it. I think Juan Archuleta wins this by decision. I do realize the risk here in that I am looking at this by decision, close decision over there. I mean, it could end up going against us. But I actually really do like Juan Archuleta here at minus 160. I put a bet on him. I put a unit on him. And again, I know that it's a volatile, this whole Rizin Bellator thing is volatile, right? So I know that I may end up losing this money, but I really do like Juan Archuleta. Maybe Juan Archuleta goes out here, hits the body, does the work that needs to get done, and ends up getting this fight out of there. Who knows? But I do like Juan Archuleta a lot. So let's get into that last fight on this card. All right, so the last fight that we're going to go over, but it's going to be your first fight of the night. It's going to be at 155 pounds. We have Koji Takada versus Gatsi Radmenov. Guys, I think Koji is outmatched here. I'm just going to be honest. I know a lot of people are like, hey, he's got a chance. Hey, he's going to win. I don't know how that happens. I just don't see anything special out of Koji. He's doesn't move his head well. I mean, I know he wins fights and he's got a really great record. I mean, he's 15-3. He wins these fights because he is a strong wrestler. He does have okay power. He can stun some people, but it's in his wrestling. He will go for takedowns. Early on in his career, he used to just be like a wrestling guy. He used to just take people down, hold people down. Since then, he's learned some of those arm locks that he's hit, and he's actually pretty good at them. He catches them from different positions. Very strong guy. So you're looking at Kimuras, you're looking at arm bars, things like that he does well. But, I mean, I just don't understand what he's going to do against Gatsi. I'm a Gatsi believer. I think Gatsi just needs to let his hands go. If Gatsi can just go and do the work, he's going to be fine. He has Khabib behind him. He has the Nurmagomedov team behind him. And the guy is really good when it comes to wrestling. He prefers to strike. He does have power in his hands. He will strike. But he can roll back on that Dagestani wrestling, and he will do that. He will take you down. He will mix things up. In this fight, I do expect more of a stand-up fight, but in the end, man, I see Gotsi winning by decision. I do see that Koji is a tough guy. I do recognize that. I have seen him take some great hits, and I've seen him stunned a couple times where he'll stutter step, but he works through it really well, and he always can fall back on trying to take you down. In that big cage, I think it's just going to be hard. I think Gotsi ends up mixing things in and probably taking him down and just working him. I don't think it's going to be that competitive. It could be, because Koji is scrappy, but I just don't see it happening. I see Gotsi winning by decision. I think it'll be a clear thing. He just needs to let it go. He needs to let his combos go. Sometimes he'll hit 1, 2, and if for some odd reason he doesn't do anything else, he has the person moving backwards and can come over with a hook or can go in for a takedown, and sometimes he just doesn't. Sometimes he just lets it go, and then he resets, and then 1-2 again, and then resets, and then 1-2 again, or 1-2 takedown. When he should be 1-2 hook, he should be looking for the body shot towards the end. He should be looking for kicks. He's integrating that, and he's getting better. And he does do that in the gym, but in these fights, he doesn't always let it go. Some of these things can look closer than they are. He ends up miraculously doing something at the end, normally like a huge takedown or holding you down most of the round, where you're giving it to him, but you're like, I could see it could have gone the other way. The other guy was really active. The other guy, landed just as much as him, and he's very active on the bottom where Gotsi's not. So those things do sort of creep up, but in the end, he is a worker. He will go for 3 rounds. He's going to be looking for takedowns if the takedowns are there, and I think that will be there. I think he's going to be the one mixing it up. He's just the better fighter, in my opinion, and I think he's going to show it here. I know everyone on Rizen's like, Goji's the next thing at 155 pounds. I just don't see it. I don't think he's anything special. I just don't see the head movement. I don't see the progression. He's getting older in age. He is now 27 years old. Well, I mean, he's not old, but he looks older. He's not the fastest person. He's a little bit slower. His wrestling is where he wins fights. His wrestling and his chin, and just being decent overall and just scrappy. Keep staying in these fights and continuing to throw and continuing to take fighters down towards the end of the round in order to take the rounds. And he knows how to win fights, but I just don't think in this fight he's going to win it. So I like Gotsi. I like Gotsi by decision. I think he ends up winning this thing. And honestly, I think he should probably be a bigger favorite than he is. He's going to be a huge favorite, but I do think he wins. But that's going to wrap up your Bellator versus Rizin, guys. It's going to be fun. I would advise you to watch the 8 o'clock showing, even though it's kind of a retape. Put it on the background. I think it'll be cool, or DVR it and watch it later. I think it'll be a good scrap. And I wonder what's going to happen in that main event. It's going to be extraordinarily interesting, because I know AJ is like looking to finish this fight and then go right into the tournament Bellator to win another $1 million and possibly become champion. I'm thinking that Satoshi, I'm thinking that his opponent might end up winning this fight and then might end up going to Bellator himself to put himself in that tournament. Guys, it's possible. AJ could come out here and knock him out too in the first round, because we have seen that happen before. I just don't necessarily think that's going to happen. So it's going to be a great card. I think it's going to be fun to watch. The lines are all over the place. I don't even know if all the sports books are going to have the lines out, because Rizin is that C League organization. So are they going to have odds out for this fight? I don't know. I know BetOnline does. So right now on BetOnline, I would put together some of these fighters, like I told you, in parlays. I would put the bets in that I told you to bet. But guys, if you like this kind of content, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be having more Bellator breakdowns, more UFC breakdowns, more sport breakdowns in general, guys. I'm telling you guys, right now I'm on a run. I'm on a crazy run when it comes to sports. So, okay, to recap, guys, it's going to be a fun Bellator versus Rizin card. 2 promotions going at it head-to-head. Kind of a C League promotion versus a B League promotion, but Rizin's on the way up. Rizin is Rizin. So they're going to make it competitive in the next coming years if they continue this whole versus thing. But right now, I see these Bellator fighters doing pretty well, and I do think there could be some potential for upsets there. It's going to be up to the judges, but guys, tune in. Showtime is going to show this card at 8 p.m. on Saturday. On New Year's Eve, they're going to show this card. It's going to take place earlier on Saturday, on New Year's Eve. So you're going to want to have your bets in by Friday. If your book has these odds out there, you guys know what I like. Guys, lock in those bets. And again, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit on those post notifications so you guys can be alerted every single time we have a video. Because today and Saturday is going to be a great day to win. Let's do it.